Hey, what's up, DonDons, and welcome back to another video. All right. Listen, I want to take some time to shout out Marc Lamont Hill because he will be our source for today. But we are going to talk about what a dog Brian McKnight Sr. is. Okay. Listen, we've seen it on the internet. We've seen things play out over the years, but child, we got to get into it all. Let's go. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right, let's get into it, child. All right, so Marc Lamont Hill did a sit-down interview with Brian McKnight Jr. and his mother, Julie McKnight. All right. So a couple of things just to catch you guys up on before we get into this interview. I'm going to be giving some notes, but then I'm also going to be playing just a little bit of audio so that you can hear the most important things that are said in this interview. But before I do that, I want to make sure that you guys hit that like button. Make sure you do subscribe if you're not subscribed. And also, if you would like to be a blessing here on the platform, you can. It will be in the comment section below. All right. So I want to, right now, what seems to be going on is Brian McKnight did a video on Nico's birthday about supposedly him winning a $8 million alleged judgment against his ex-wife, Julie McKnight. Well, come to find out, Julie McKnight wasn't served the lawsuit. I believe she ended up responding to set aside the judgment. I think by technicalities, there were some things that were going on. What I will do is I will pin Pam The Law Intellect. I will go ahead and pin her video because y'all know she had the documents and she did go over it. Remember, he was saying that he was losing dates because she wrote a book. And in the book, you know, she allegedly said all of these things that could have canceled his tour dates. But we already know why his tour dates was canceled. He's been a dog dick since the beginning. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So Brian McKnight Jr. Talks about in 2019 how he started this thing by making a post about his dad and what his dad had done as far as not being in his children's life, right? And it was more of a hate and a get back at his ex-wife, Julie McKnight. However, Brian McKnight Sr. never saw, where I believe he's seen, okay, how he was treating his actual family. And what we won't do, act like Brian McKnight hasn't been doing this. And again, in 2019, that's when it was exposed. All right. So then they, you know, as they start this particular interview, Julie McKnight explains how their parents, how Brian McKnight Sr. and her parents were friends. They were campus buddies in college, and they've always had family connections, pretty much. All right. And so she says that, they didn't meet in no church. You know what I'm saying? They met on campus. Now they were going to a Christian college, and she was trying to stay on campus, but she couldn't. Okay. And I believe she said that they both got kicked off of the campus. All right. So I want to get into the most important things here. And so again, I'm going to be playing audio. Then we're going to discuss the audio that we play. But I want to be very intentional about this because y'all know I'm gonna eat Brian McKnight up, right? I'm gonna eat him up. But when I say intentional about this, I want to be very intentional about the audio pieces that I play because I want those to be the most important things that we take away from this particular video. All right, so let's go ahead and get into them, child. Let's go.
How they were made. Oh my God, BJ, you couldn't pry him out of his arms.
Well, that was gonna be the thing I have for you, BJ. When you hear, my children weren't made out of love or born out of love, these children were born out of sin, and statements like that, how'd you feel? How does it make you feel? It's interesting for me, to be honest. It's different. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sting. It doesn't hurt my feelings because I understand. As someone who has been in my own, I've gone through it all. I've gone through everything my dad has gone through in half the time. You know what I mean? I've got 3 children, 2 different women. My first 2 kids I had with someone I wasn't in a relationship with.
Right.
You know what I mean? I am able to put myself in my dad's shoes and say, okay, well, if you were 19 and 20 and you weren't ready to have a kid yet, I know that there had to have been conversations had around not having me. So, and from that standpoint, I can understand that maybe what he's trying to say out of spite and pettiness to hurt my mom may not necessarily be how he actually feels. See, I'm able to separate the 2 things.
That's a generous reading, of him.
I get it, man. Mm-hmm. I've said many times to this whole thing that I think that I'm the person that could help my dad.
Right.
And that's not coming from a place of ego. It's not coming from a place of feeling like I'm better than him or smarter than him. No, I understand, dog. Mm-hmm. I've been through it. Mm-hmm. And I've managed to keep my integrity through all of this, maintain honesty as well as I can as a young man trying to figure himself out and do things. I've made mistakes, especially in relationships. A lot of which I learned from seeing the relationships around me, as we know how it goes with conditioning and generational things. So it's just like.
Okay, so I agree with him there a little bit. I feel like the grace, and it's only this situation. So before y'all go off, I think it's only this situation, meaning when you say, and I don't know, going to the extent of saying you birthed these kids out of sin and so you can't love them is so far off, and I don't really understand how you can make the 2 parallel. But what I do understand that he's saying is, hey, I had to learn too at a young age that there were pretty much, when you have a child at a young age, it makes you grow up faster. It kind of seems like there was accountability level at a young age that you don't have, and you don't kind of learn until you go through the process. So I don't know. Again, that's just my opinion on that specific situation, but I do think you can't parallel the 2 because Brian McKnight is giving dog shit. So let's keep going.
Self to reach that level of being able to not just have it hurt my feelings. Does it hurt my feelings? Of course. I'm not going to deny the fact that hearing your father say these things publicly is where it's an issue for me. But like I said years ago, me and my father have been way past the father-son role at this point. It's time for us to have a conversation as men.
Absolutely.
I've always been willing to have that.
Mm-hmm. Is he unwilling to have it?
I don't think he's ready to have it yet. And that's not a jab at him.
Mm-mm. Well, let me ask you, directly though, have you tried to have it?
Oh, 100%. 100% for years.
And when you reach out?
Just to be as fully transparent as possible, because that's what I plan to be today.
Yeah.
My father told me that the only way that he would have the conversation with me is that if I went online and told everyone that I was lying about the initial post that I made back in the day.
The 2019?
Yeah. Yes. And if you aren't familiar, I made an Instagram post back in the day. I mean, pretty much saying that, it was simply stating, essentially, that I do not dig the way that you're treating my siblings. Did I say he abandoned us? Did I say that? All of that became misconstrued through all the BS. And then within his responses of not really knowing what to say and obviously not having someone on his team tell him to maybe take a beat. But no, all of this stems from the fact that the one thing that I will never tolerate, nor condone, nor deal with is you mistreating my family in any way.
No.
Was my post petty and spiteful? 100%. I knew, because I knew my dad, that was the only way to get his attention. I've been clear about that.
I was trying to put the post.
All right, so he talks about the post from 2019, and let me just give you guys a little bit more background. of what's going on. Okay, so Julie McKnight says that her turning point when she disconnected from Brian McKnight was when he had several girlfriends and he kind of wanted her to, just respect the respectful cheating type of situation. Now, Brian McKnight Sr., when they got divorced, things were good with the kids. You know what I'm saying? They were going on the road with him. He says that the kids felt entitled, they would be laid, and basically that they were, while they were working for him, they was doing rugs, and he just got tired of, the nonsense around him. Now, Brian McKnight Jr. says that that's not true. They toured for 9 years with Brian McKnight, and they spent, that's the most time that they actually spent while they were actually on tour. He then talked about how during that time he moved to LA to be closer to Brian McKnight Sr., but it didn't really happen that way. Then he also talked about how they did like a corno advertisement. I'm gonna let y'all hear him sing it.
Midlife, he'd have been my age then than I am now. We saw it happen. Let me show you how your pussy works song. All of that same period of time when he lets me and my brother and my best friend do the theme song for youporn.com, and they bring a bunch of porn stars to the crib and have us shoot a music video, and he leaves us there with his handlers, and they allowed us to do this. But we were entitled, drug addict kids. Where was the parents that were with us around us? My mom's in North Carolina and only found out about all this when we told her.
How old were you? How old were you?
20.
Now, there are people who are going to say, you still grown.
My brother was 17. That's grown. 20 years old. That's grown. Again, I would love to see what y'all would do in that situation. I was 20 years old. 20.
Yeah.
And we weren't shelter kids.
No.
This is the flip side of the thing I want to talk about too, and I'm glad. Another reason why I came on here, so I can go ahead and lay this out there, man. We were not these little spoiled rich kids as we were presented out to be. My dad don't even know the kind of things and the kind of stuff that I was into as a young kid. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, 30 minutes from Durham. You feel me? I hooped with real niggas all the time. All my homies were hitters, and that's real. My Arab homies, you know what I mean? I grew up with people that really, really were about that life in a lot of ways, and I was accepted because I hooped. And I come from a family of real niggas too. All my uncles are G's. My dad knows these things. All my dad's people that he came up with out here, the people that protected him when he was out on the West Side.
Absolutely.
Those are my uncles. And my uncles extend outside of our blood family, man. That's just how we move. There was never a time that even me and my brother treated people like we were entitled.
No.
Child. Okay, so let's break that down just a little bit. So he talks about how Brian McKnight says that they are entitled, or they were entitled while they were on tour, showed up late, but he's talking about how he had handlers and different people having them shoot, music for pornographs and all kind of stuff. Ooh, child. Okay, so then he also talks about how, they hood, baby. They hood, in other words, okay? He basically saying they hood. They came up in the hood, baby. So they weren't sheltered. They wasn't these spoiled kids. They weren't none of this stuff. Miss Julie got it out of the mud, according to her. Okay, so just letting y'all know. Now, make sure y'all hit that like button, please. Thank y'all. Okay, so listen, I'm not saying that I believe everything that the opposite side is saying. In other words, I'm not saying because I wasn't there. So all we can do is go based off of the word. Now Brian McKnight Jr. is getting ready to talk about how Brian McKnight Sr. was talking about how Brian McKnight Jr. felt like Brian McKnight Sr. was obligated to pay his child support. Let's get into it.
You just don't know how to shut your mouth and stop fueling the fire.
You say you weren't entitled. He did say that when you had some child support issues, that he was expected to take care of it. Even though you're grown, you had the child support stuff, and then you told the girl, hey, my dad's paying for this.
Because that never happened.
No.
That never happened. Expected is one thing. I'd never even formally asked him. And this is why putting these types of things out there in public is so detrimental to even my children and their mother and our side of things either. The way I even found out how much I owed in child support. See, there's so many layers to these kinds of stories, y'all, that you got to really do more digging. But the thing about it is you can't tell people to just do more digging because this is information that no one should even know.
Absolutely.
Well, there's that.
You feel me? These are things that we only have to absolve ourselves for because now we're in the public and because of the things that my dad has gone to say. This is in-house business matters that should not be discussed in public. I shouldn't have to tell y'all that I didn't find out that I had to pay child support until I owed $17,000.
Yeah.
I was never properly served. It's not like they were tracking me down. I wasn't hard to find. I was homeless for 4 years, though, so I didn't have an address. He didn't tell you about the years and about the months I was sleeping out of my car.
Did he know you were sleeping in your car?
Of course he did.
And what did he say to you?
Nothing.
Child. Okay, so then he goes into saying that they that Brian McKnight Sr. would do things with conditions. Okay, do things with major conditions. And I think he gave an example of sell your Jeep or go back to North Carolina with your mom. Like, the conditions were like really crazy conditions about helping. So he talks about how he just didn't help. He struggled for a decade, but he pushed on through. So then the mom talks about, again, how everything's comes with conditions and how malicious he is. She talked about how she wanted to build legacy instead of material things, and how when they got a divorce, some of the agreements that were put into place were that there were going to be accounts set up for the children so that they wouldn't have to ever ask anybody for help. And she said that the accounts were never set up. She also says that she was asked to leave the house while they were like 3 and 6, and she says that her cousin had to help her move into an apartment that Brian McKnight Sr. was going to pay the rent up the road. Okay, and the reason was because she says that, well, Marc Lamont Hill brought up the fact that in the interview that Brian McKnight Sr. did, that he said that Miss Julie was very irresponsible with money and things like that. Child, she talked about how also, child, in the home that she was living in, that they was living in, because one day she came home and, she had to move. She said that Brian McKnight had already moved a woman up in there and she was folding up laundry as Julie McKnight had to go through a side window to get in to get in. Child, I was like, oh my God. That is crazy to me. That is so crazy to me. They also talk about how Julie McKnight is keeping the McKnight last name. She says that she's keeping the McKnight last name because that's her stage name. That's how she gets her coin. That's how she makes her money. And so she's basically saying she ain't finna get rid of that name because, again, that's how the money comes through. This is the difficult part about Nico, right? May he rest in peace. Listen, I got emotional listening to this, and so I know that you guys are going to as well. But here's what I want to give context to. So also what we're going to hear Miss Julie responding to is the voicemail that we actually heard or that went viral. Concerning, or that Brian McKnight actually posted himself. He actually posted it himself in regards to Nico's unfortunate passing. And this is why I say I do believe Julie when she says that a lot of things that come with Brian McKnight Sr. comes with conditions. He doesn't allow a lot of things to happen without conditions. So what we're getting ready to listen to in this particular part of the interview, and please remember that the full interview will be linked below and you can go listen to the full interview. I just wanted to give you guys nuggets on the particular interview and what I felt like was important. But we are getting ready to listen to them discuss Nico and some of, again, this was the hardest part of the interview. Here we go.
Discussing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. First thing is he got the information late.
It's not true.
You tell me your version of what happened. Or you. I know this is painful, and so I don't want to.
I love you, Johnny boy. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing, man. And again, this is the last time I'm speaking about this, about any of this with anybody. My dad knew from the jump. I got the DMs. You feel me?
When you say the jump, he found out as soon as y'all found out.
I found out, he knew.
Okay.
I begged my dad to talk to my brother for 2 years. He got diagnosed 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? The lies, man. The unnecessary lies. Even if let's go about it a different way. Even if that's true, even if you got the information late, even if everything he said about us was true, you have the power, right, to step in, take control.
He said he tried, and that his wife intervened as well and said, "Hey, you can not even say it's from us. Like, we just want to help."
Why would I beg my dad to help? Not even help. I didn't beg my dad to help. I begged him to talk to my brother. Why would I do that if we weren't willing to make that connection, if we weren't willing to allow that to be the case, if it wasn't up until it was absolutely apparent that the type of help that would have come, like my mom said, would have come with certain stipulations. He would have had to do this. He would have had to do that.
No, is that what he did?
We would have been able to be involved. You know what I mean? The attempt to turn my brother against us in his last days is the most outrageous thing. And that's where you asked me earlier where I didn't finish. That's where it ended for me with my dad.
Absolutely.
Through all of this, I've always been willing. The olive branches have been extended. I have always tried to make amends with my dad, publicly even. I have stated multiple times I'm willing to do that. I have taken my accountability for my post, because that's where this started. The guilt on my shoulders for all of this, for that even, we don't get here without that. But it's like, he had ample opportunity to show up and be my brother's dad. Forget your help. He did 5 shows in California when my brother laid in the hospital.
Yes.
What do we have to do with you coming and paying respects to your son on his deathbed?
That is absolutely ridiculous, and I couldn't let it play further without me interjecting. Nigga, you had your starting back at one ass right in the city in which your son was dying of cancer in, and you never, not once, stopped doing any show to go and check on your son. Man, it gets worse. But here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. You want to blame this lady for your appearances being canceled is straight bullcrap. Okay? It is straight up bullcrap. Let's keep going, child.
Did you ask him to do it?
I get no responses.
Okay.
I'm texting and DMing to deaf ears, as far as we know. Mm-hmm. But there was never a time through any of this until all of this started happening. And even still, all I asked him to do was talk to my brother.
Right.
Talk to him. He's begging for you, dog. He's begging for you to talk to him. And I'm gonna take this one so my mom doesn't have to, because we discussed this whole thing. As far as even that, him airing out my mother's voicemail and all of that in the midst of all this too, without any context of how we got there. It's just like, come on, bruv. In the midst of all this too, without any context of how we got there. It's just like, come on, bruv. One of the darkest and coldest and most disheartening memories of my life is the day my brother calls me sobbing with all that he's going through, looking death in the eye, to tell me I'm right about telling him not to call my father. Mm-hmm. Because I knew what was going to happen. Because I knew where my dad was. I told him, Dad is gone. Mm-hmm. Dad's gone. All my brother wanted and needed, asked for, was my father to tell him that he loves him. And my brother responds to him, or my father responds to my brother that I can't arbitrarily say that I love you.
Right.
But this is the man that wanted to help him. This is the man that was so willing to be there, that was so willing to help my brother stay alive.
I'm sorry, I have to ask that again because...
No, you heard it right. I can't arbitrarily tell you I love you. My brother's dying of cancer. This was the first time he was terminal. This was before his wife, Carla, saved his life. Absolutely. Cold calling doctors.
Yes.
My brother was a Valley Presbyterian in Van Nuys, dying when this was happening. I had to walk from my apartment in Sherman Oaks. I had to walk to the hospital into that. Because I'm working, mister. I don't have a job. I don't work. I don't do nothing. So that's why.
Listen, I mean, you can hear the passion in their voices when they talk about Nico and the things that Brian did. Brian, you a shit ass nigga. You a dog. You any and everything that we can think of but the child of God and your name. Because the fact that you would place conditions on the fact that your son is literally dying of a terminal illness and you can't set aside a moment right now to even be supportive. You want the man's wife to literally to not be in his life to help him, and you want your ex-wife who could possibly mistreat him. We don't know. They don't know that lady like that to be able to take care of somebody or your children on their deathbed to go like placing conditions is absolutely insane, y'all. I cannot. That ain't the end of it. Let's keep going. Now, this is where I just have no respect. This man said that he believes that Nico's passing was preventable, and that basically they, speaking of Nico's mother, his brother, and his wife, unalived him. Let's take a listen. This is sick.
That Nico's death was preventable, and that you all martyred him.
Do you understand how unbelievable that is?
That when I heard that, there's no other way to explain that as a mom than diabolical.
Yeah, it's evil.
That is evil. I moved. First of all, my son, he at that age, the diagnosis, which I want a lot of people to understand, which is a movement that he and his wife, we want to be very clear that when young people are diagnosed with colon cancer, by the time they're diagnosed, they are stage 4. Mm-hmm. So when the comment was made that he was diagnosed and then he was dead.
Right. He said that the evidence shows that if you catch it at stage 1,
he was diagnosed at stage.
If you catch it.
Ask
my dad how many times he told us to go to the doctor. Ask my father how often he cared about any of those types of things. It was preventable, right? What did you do to help?
He said y'all didn't have health care. He didn't say why, but he said you all didn't have health care. And basically, what I heard from it, I don't want to put words in his mouth, was almost that y'all were irresponsible, that you didn't have health coverage, and so you didn't go to the doctor, and that's why.
See, those for me are the petty comments that in once.
My thing is this right here, you bitch ass nigga. Yeah, I said it. My thing is this right here. If it's such a problem, won't you get some insurance on them, you bitch? You knew he was sick. You knew your son was going through some things, which y'all already know how hard it is to do that once you're already sick. But even if you knew that they didn't have anything, bitch, why you didn't step in? See, a lot of y'all niggas really be out here really just like willy-nilly, like not doing the thing like you should be doing. I'm just saying, if you feel like they didn't have health insurance is weird work to me. I don't know. I don't respect that. I don't respect that in no type of way that you saying that out of your mouth and your son literally passed away of colon. I don't appreciate that, and I think that that's real. Like that's bitchy. Like I don't respect that at all.
The diagnosis was made. Young, healthy. I can't speak for what my son and his wife as adults were going through in their household and how they were running their affairs. Responsible people, them having the type of health care needed or not to adequately care for someone at stage 4 cancer is totally different than they didn't have any. Right. So all of the work that was done and all of the family and the reaching out that got him to the point, you can't just toss out that he was that sick. Nico had multiple things that started to happen with him as a result of being stage 4 at his diagnosis,
and needing immediate care.
Needed
immediate emergency surgeries.
Surgery after
it hurts.
After to hear.
All right, now this is really sad. Take a listen at at Miss Julie McKnight describing some of the final moments of Nico's life, and she discusses and clarifies this audio or this voicemail.
That's exactly what to Nico. See, because the issue is, and I gotta address, like my son said, the context of things. Yes, people heard the voicemail, but they have no idea that as a mom standing in the room with my son on speaker with his wife and hearing how belittling his father talked to him. If the first comment out of his mouth was, "I don't appreciate the way you're treating my new family," who gives a damn, man? He's in there in the bed.
Wait, Nico is
septic.
9. Nico.
This is the first time. Nico was full terminal this time. And it had nothing, it was from complications of the cancer. Like my son said, his wife brought him back to health. The fight, you will never act like she sat there and did nothing.
So he's septic. He's on this bed, in this bed, sick, dying, terminal.
He was making his final calls.
He calls his dad as one of his final calls.
His dad finally called him back.
Okay, so he's in his bed, presumably his deathbed at this moment.
Right. We had hospice people outside of our door.
Wow. He gets a call from his dad that he's been waiting for.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And his dad says what?
And we were all, his wife and I, we were all like, okay, his wife, we were like, okay, thank God, this is going to bring him some peace. He wasn't on the phone more than 5 minutes. The conversation isn't able to go any further because I need to be clear that I'm not happy about where you're treating my new family and the kids. And Nico says to him, "This is what you want to talk about with me right now." Now it's on speaker, so I'm So this is not a point where at any moment someone can say, this is what I heard from someone else. I'm in the room. I'm there with my son, with his wife, holding hands. And we'll never, if you want to think of a day where something is cut, is the day that I have to watch my son with everything that he's already dealing with. And the only thing that you want is for this person they went through it. Nico's vitals started escalating. Heart started going. Everything started happening. As his mom, I'm looking at his wife like, we're going to have to cut this conversation. It's not healthy for him. He wanted to stay on. He started to go into a conversation it didn't need to go into. So Nico realized, I need to end it. I'm going to say I love you to my father. And I have to say it 4 times. And then have that be the response. I told his... The way he cried, I wanted to rip everybody's throat out I could get a hold of. I wanted to tear the hospital down because there was nothing I could do for him.
Me too.
Yo, this is sick. This is sick. Brian McKnight, you are a bitch. And I believe this. I do. I'm sorry. I believe this. To honestly, at this man's last calls that he's making while hospice is in the room, telling him that he's getting ready to die, you decide to get your bitch ass on the phone to actually think that he gives a about you and your whack ass new family? Like, what? Are you serious? That is crazy. I really have no respect for this man at all. Like, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. If this is a person that is none whatsoever, do you understand what I'm saying? A dog, a true narcissist, a true disgusting human being. I told y'all that I don't wish any good luck on him as far as this goes. And as far as his dates go, I hope they get canceled. I hope you're canceled. I hope all of the things. I do. That is insane. Listen, I'm going to say this. She also mentioned about some terrible text messages that were sent after, pretty much they were sent to only Nico and Miss Julie, basically saying how disgusting they were, how they were preventing him from helping, which was going to cause Nico to pass away, and basically telling them that they are the ones that are guilty for unaliving him because of him not being able to step in and control the situation. And we already know what it is. You want to control and you're not going to get to control. That's what it is. That's what you're trying to do. And then they talk about the lawsuit as far as him posting that victory bullish on the day of Nico's birthday. And here's the crazy part about it. Now here's my thing with Miss Julie. I don't know if it's her legal strategy, maybe from her attorney. I don't even know if she has an attorney that is making her say some of these things, but she said, and I don't know when this was filmed because it was a Patreon exclusive that's now publicly on YouTube. So I'm assuming it was filmed some time ago. But the interesting thing about it is that she said that there is no judgment. From my understanding, and this is from Pam's video, and I'll link her video in the description box as well. But from my understanding, and based on what I gathered from Pam's videos, was that she was never served. There was a judgment, but now she filed a motion to set aside the judgment. I don't know if she's countersuing, but there is a defamation lawsuit. He did that celebration that he won like $8 million. He ain't win shit, y'all. I mean, it's still pending. Okay? It's still pending. Listen, I wasn't there. But what I can truly say is that I believe a lot of what is being said surrounding Nico. And I think that is the most disgusting thing ever. I, again, don't hope that Brian McKnight is continued to be successful until he is canceled. Because this is absurd. Your son is dying of a terminal illness and you want to be selfish. You want to think that he gives a flying F about your family? Sir, are you crazy? Especially when he has his own mom and brother. I can't. I'll link the video down below. I hope you guys got something from this review. If not, I still appreciate you for tuning in. Please make sure y'all hit that like button. Please make sure you subscribe if you'd like to be a blessing to the platform. You know how to do so. Again, this is your boy Chef DonDon, and I'll be sure to see you guys in the next video. Peace.